What's up, boys and girls? Welcome to another video with me, Alex, the dude who likes personal finance and lives in one of the most remote places on earth, Greenland. I hope that you're having a fantastic day. We are nearing Christmas and I'm looking so much forward to go to Sisimiut and celebrate Christmas with my family. It's getting kind of rough these days, but we just have to hang in there and get through the dark times, and by December 21st we will go towards lighter days and I'm really looking forward to that. In this video, we will explore my own personal finance journey and how much wealth I have accumulated over the last 3 years working full-time as an engineer in the Greenlandic construction sector. All the while putting in some effort into savings and making sure that I don't live beyond my means and basically trying to save as much as possible. This video hopefully gives a clearer picture of what one might expect to be able to gain financially after having lived semi-frugally and working full-time as an engineer right after university. Not to say that you won't accumulate more or less than I have during those last 3 years, but just to give you an idea of what is attainable. So sit back, relax, hit the like button, subscribe, and enjoy the video. To clarify, when I talk about net worth, I mean assets minus liabilities, which is basically your net worth. Assets, you can talk about things such as stocks and bonds, real estate, royalty income, basically music copyrights that you sell to other places. Businesses, alternative investments such as crowd lending, jewelry, some might say. I like my watches. Basically just things that puts money into your pocket. That's the easiest definition that I have learned. And for liabilities, we're talking about loans, we're talking about cars, boats, mortgages, yes. Basically things that take money out of your pocket each month. And as we all know, the goal is to collect as many assets as possible, hence increasing your own net worth. You just want to accumulate those assets as fast as possible while you're still young. Or if you're older, just better start now than never. And just in a minute, when I'm about to reveal my own personal net worth, I will just tell you I will not include retirement accounts because you cannot really touch those until you turn 65, 67, depending on the country. So I will not be including those, but I do have one and you probably also should have one. So my story starts in 2017 when I was just finished with university. I got a job here in Greenland, so I flew from Denmark to Greenland and then I started to labor as a consulting engineer within the Greenlandic construction sector. My net worth in 2017, well, I'm talking about January 2018 because I got my job later in 2017. So if we just have January as a starting point for all the years that I will be telling you my net worth and how it increased over time. My net worth in January 2018 was, I had roughly assets for $3,200, which were crowd lending, Bondora and Mentos. And then I had some liabilities, which were student loans and some taxes I had to pay. And those accumulated to $12,000 US. So my total net worth in January 2018 was negative 8,800 US. And as you can see, my student loan debts, or debts for that matter, were not that bad if you compare to, for example, American graduates who just finished university. My degree is a bachelor within mechanical engineering, and luckily the education in Denmark and people in Greenland as well is free. So my debt towards student loans were not really there, as you can say. We have a lot higher taxation system here, but that's a whole nother story. But still, you could still see that I had to do some digging before I got out of that hole, and that was what I did. The first year of 2018, I basically just worked, put my head down, and gained some experience within working a traditional 9 to 5, or I basically just set up a budget and just strictly followed it and tried to pay off as much of that debt or liability as I could each month. I split a house with a roommate and we paid roughly $750 per month. I lived in the living room and I just lived semi-frugally. So my personal starting point was not as bad as you can see when compared to other people around the world. But basically the first year my goal was just to become debt free and start to save up towards an emergency fund. A house purchase was a little further down the line, but I could see the goal at the end of the tunnel. My net worth in January 2019 was, I had assets / cash of roughly 7,300 US, and I had finally become debt free, which basically put my net worth to $7,300 US. And if you compare that to the year prior, I had basically gone from minus 8,800 to plus 7,300 US, which gave me an increase in net worth of $16,100. 2019 was also a year where I started to get more above ground again, and I started to consider a house purchase more seriously, as I could see that it was more feasible now. My most important criteria for getting into my house was basically that I didn't want to increase my monthly spending towards paying rent or paying down a mortgage. So my criteria was that I had to be able to live in this house for as much money or preferably cheaper than I did when I was splitting up the housing cost with my roommate in the other house. You can watch this video where I go into depth of how I did that. And also I didn't really want to live all by myself, so having 1 or 2 extra roomies would be very awesome so that you didn't have to feel so lonely when you got home each day after work. So that was also a criteria, to live with other people, to lower my monthly spending towards housing and also not be as lonely. And it actually happened in 2019 when I was browsing the local real estate agent's website. I saw this house and basically turned in an offer and I bought a house in 2019. And I also got 2 new roomies to live with me, and it was all great. And as you might have expected, it was not free to buy the house. I spent roughly $18,700 towards buying fees and lawyers and getting a mortgage through the bank here and blah, 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 blah. And another $5,700 towards appliances, fridge, freezer, washing machine, all that good stuff and getting into the house. I mean, buying your first house, you actually start to realize that there goes a lot of money into just getting settled into the house that you usually don't really take into account when you think, oh, it's a bright idea to buy a house. But you have to consider that you have to buy plates, you have to buy forks, you have to buy knives, you have to buy teaspoons. There's a lot of stuff going into buying a house, but once you have it, it's pretty awesome. What I'm basically trying to say is that I spent $24,400 US on getting into a house, which I could otherwise have spent on the stock market. That's kind of the trade-off you have to look when you start to do those things. But it made sense for me. It might not make sense for you. So hit up that Excel sheet and see what makes more sense and what you really want to do. All those money spent on getting into a house, of course, made a huge impact on my own personal net worth, but I still haven't regretted that a single second. Which brings us to January 2020, where my assets took a bump up and so did my liabilities. I had assets of roughly 356,000 US, but I also had liabilities of 349,000. But that still meant that my net worth came in at $7,000 US. And as you might remember from the year prior, where I had a net worth of 7,300, I basically went down in wealth, $300. And that was simply because of the house purchase, which was so much money up front. But wait for it, you will not be cheated, because we are in December of 2020, and I thought I might as well, as I do each month, tell you what my net worth is as of today, as this answers the question as of how much money I was able to accumulate over 3 years of working full-time. My net worth in December 2020, I have assets of roughly 369,000 US, but also liabilities of 336, bringing in my total net worth to 33,000 US dollars after 3 years of hard laboring and also a house purchase. This means that within 2020, my net worth has increased roughly 30,000 US, which is quite a lot more compared to the years before. And also just to note, my net worth is assuming that this house I'm living in at the moment did not increase in value, but the net worth gains that I had is just me paying down the principal of the loan, which is basically assuming that the house just stays at the same value. But we are seeing at the moment very large increases in prices on housing here in Nuuk specifically, and similar type houses around here as of mine are for sale at the moment for 407,000 US. There has also been houses sold for that similar amount. That is a fairly good indicator of what people are willing to pay for this type of property that I live in. So my own conservative estimates of what my house would be worth at the moment would be roughly 391,000 US, which means I could add roughly 27,500 US dollars on top of my net worth of the 30,000 US. So if you include the house gains, or whatever you might call that, price increase of the house, I could have a net worth at the moment of 57,500 US instead of the 30,000 US, which I do have. But that is all speculation. I am not selling the house at the moment, so also for future I will just assume that the house will be the same value, unless we of course have a huge dip in the market, which might or might not happen, you never know. It is just the risk you take as a homeowner, and if you look at it also a little bit more from an investment point of view. But all in all, not at the 100,000 US dollar mark yet, but I am slowly getting there after 3 years, and I will still continue towards hitting that goal, which is basically my next goal, or also buying a new property. At the moment, I'm still very thankful for that I still have a job. I didn't get laid off during this pandemic going around in the world, but I can also feel that I'm slowly getting ready towards making my next move, possibly some more real estate. I just set up a company for that specific purpose. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button for future real estate deals and how I also handle my own personal finances. If you have any good advice, please leave me a comment down below and tell me if, oh my god Alex, you're doing terrible. Would you please take this life seriously? And what about you? Are you slowly accumulating more assets than liabilities at the moment? If you have some good tips, please feel free to drop me a comment. I will read all of them and reply. Let me know if you think my progress is slow, or if you also aspire to gain more control over your financial situation, as quite frankly, nobody else is going to do that for you. So it is on you. So with that said, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to hit the like button down below. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. And until next time, okay, bye.